Speaking of porn,
Boing.
did you hear about the mistake that Mattel made with their Wicked dolls?
No.
The the URL thing that they put, you know, the on the box to
Yes, QR
purchase
code.
them. Yeah,
It's a QR
that's
code.
it, the QR code. It's supposed to take you to Wicked the movie, but it takes you to wicked.com,
Nice.
which is a porn site. The Mattel dolls for Wicked things take you to a porn site.
Good. Teach him young. Hey, welcome back to our Stupid Reactions with Corbin. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter for more juicy content. Thank you to your source on Patreon. Follow us again, so go like button.
You're just starting over. We're not even going to keep the whole Wicked porn site thing.
Huh? What are you talking about? Today, this just dropped this morning, and it's a really interesting one. It's the Hollywood Reporter India.
I don't trust the Hollywood Reporter.
Okay, cool.
It's like he's one guy.
Hollywood Reporter India,
Oh,
which means it's a film companion lady now.
got it.
But Amir Khan and Kiran Rao, who is the director of Lapata Ladies, and his ex-wife,
I know. I'm not a novice.
they're now on the Oscar campaign, and they did a interview together with the Hollywood Reporter India,
As they
talking
should
about
be.
their relationship
Won't-
and their careers. And
Won't surprise me if they're here a lot.
I hope so. That'd be cool.
In fact, yes. I need to.
In fact, what?
I'm going to ask Atul about that.
What?
If Amir's going to be here and if we can connect.
Probably not.
I'm going to ask.
Probably not, though. Don't give away our secrets.
Shh. Okay. Ask Atul about Amir. How do you remember things?
I don't. People who are divorced can't be friends.
That's true.
When I was
You were
growing
sitting in
up,
the balcony and she started crying. I said, really, what happened? She said, you're leaving us. So I said, no, I'm not leaving you. I'm actually leaving films and we'll actually get more time to spend. She said, no. You're a child of cinema, and if you're leaving films, you're leaving us. Trust me.
Can you imagine him sitting around and not doing any movies and doing nothing? In fact, his daughter told him, please, Papa, you can't spend all your time with us. You go crazy.
they look great. They should be in a relationship together. They look good together.
Kiran and Aamir, welcome to the Hollywood Reporter India.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is just film companion.
So thrilled to be sitting here at Soho House, Mumbai with you. Congratulations on Lapata Ladies being the official submission for Oscars 2025.
We love Lapata Ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we don't speak about this enough. But the two of you are one of the most successful, influential, fertile collaborations in Indian cinema.
They're fertile?
Okay?
You feel that?
Absolutely. No, you just think about it. So you meet, okay, Lagan, 2001. You are assistant director, you are leading man and producer. Obviously, that's a classic, goes to the Oscars. There's also Dil Chahta Hai in the same year, in which you are leading man. You have this lovely little fleeting appearance, okay? Officially, you start 2008 with Jaane Tu Ya Jaane Na. And then you create a slew of absolute gems, all right? This includes a cult classic, Delhi Belly. This includes Dangal, the highest
biggest
grossing
Indian film of all time.
It includes Peekly Live. It includes
Tare
Tare Zameen Par, which is another Oscar submission from India.
What a film.
And of course now,
Dhobi Ghat.
Dhobi Ghat, and now Lapata Ladies, which is yet again going to the Oscars. I mean, just think about this body of work that the two of you.
Not bad, Papi.
Yeah.
I want to know what's the secret sauce? Because this is a collaboration that has survived divorce.
True.
She's like,
How
has
do you-
it?
I mean, for me, a lot of patience.
Yeah, bring it out. Tell us
It's been
all the
amazing
stories.
working with him. He is a powerhouse.
No, matlab, see, actually, the thing is that, I mean, divorce is a separate topic. As creative people, we gel really well, and we like each other's minds, and we
As a
trust
couple,
each other's
we
minds.
hate each other.
So I guess that's why we work well. Our sensibilities are similar.
Yeah. You know, I think, like he said, our aesthetics are pretty similar, and there are lots of things that we like. But we also, when we disagree, we take the trouble to convince each other. Like, I'll go to him and be like, you know, give him very good reason why I feel the way I do. And I think both of us respect each other's opinions. I think that's one of the reasons that the partnership has lasted.
Yeah, and then divorce didn't affect our relationship, whether professionally or personally, because I think we felt it happens kind of organically. And so divorce is a word which implies that you're
Leaving.
Right.
leaving, you're moving away.
And maybe it
We
ended
were moving
terribly.
away as husband and wife, but we were not moving away as human beings. So I don't think that also caused any problem. Yeah.
But when you say your sensibilities are similar, Kiran, the last time you and I talked, we talked about actually how they are not, right? Because your sensibilities are very highbrow.
थोड़ा इसको मुझे खींचना पड़ा यहाँ पे.
Exactly.
हाँ, जब मैंने when I gave her the script of लापता ladies, I told her, I said, वो थोड़ा अपना आटी वाटी बोर्ड से थोड़ा भी निकलो यार.
Stop talking like
This
that. I
is,
can't understand
I mean,
you.
it's a good point, a place to take off. You know, when we got the script, it was actually, Aamir said, look, there's potential here. And I was the one who said, I think it can be a full-fledged comedy. And then when we were ready to kind of...
Comedy तो थी.
Yeah. No, well, the original script wasn't so funny, honestly. That it wasn't sort of... It was a satire, but the comic element needed enhancing. And I think at that point, when I was beginning to start writing with Sneha, I remember telling Aamir, like, how do you want me to do it? He said, we need this to be a nice, broad, mainstream film, right? Because it speaks to everyone. And I said, yes. So he said, I trust you. Just go and come when you have a draft. You know, I don't want to get involved with the writing. Just do what you want. And whenever you're satisfied, come back. Which I thought, so technically, I satisfied the
No,
criteria.
she totally satisfied. No, the other thing is that when I read the script of Lapata Ladies, I really felt Kiran is the right director for it, because though you would imagine she's come from Dhobi Ghat, can she do something like this? I felt that her strength lies in her honesty. And in Peeply Live, the situation was so bizarre and so, unusual and dramatic that you've come to the wrong house as a bride.
In Lapata Ladies.
In Lapata Ladies.
Huh.
So, the situation itself is so dramatic, and it does provoke humor in many ways and all of that. And I felt that any director who's trying to push the humor and push that will go in the wrong way. I felt that she's someone who is quite honest towards her characters and the situation they're in.
I think that's where...
And that's inherently in the script. So I told her, you follow your instinct, because I knew she'll be honest.
She'll follow the people, not the
Thoda
funny.
bahut humor push karegi, it'll not go into the other side.
Right.
But the moment you get a director who's trying to push it,
She
then it
told
would have
me,
toppled.
She told me you knew that there was a commercial Kamina director inside of her.
Yeah, I always knew that. I always knew that. She was just shy of coming out of it. She wanted that,
Owning
थोड़ा
it.
हाँ कि लोग मुझे बोले कि मैं बड़ी इंटेलेक्चुअल हूँ, चश्मा पहनती हूँ.
No, I think...
तो ऐसे वो सब में निकलो यार. Connect with people.
Yeah. And she did.
And make your own films.
Yeah.
But there's no point connecting with fewer people. You want to connect
Yeah.
with more people.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's where my sensibility comes in as well, because I feel there are many ways to connect with people, and just because it's a very, very broad, you do very broad strokes with everything, it doesn't necessarily mean it connects deeply. I feel this is a new kind of mainstream in that sense, Lapata, because I think tonally it's very unusual. It's not a big, sort of slapstick ha-ha thing, but it's still connected.
It's a crowd
connected.
pleaser.
It's a crowd pleaser,
Yeah.
and pitch-wise, it's not quite the same as every other comedy, right? We could have done that as well. The script actually allowed for you to do a proper out and out,
He's trying to muffle the cough. It's
mainstream.
magnifying it.
movie, which it is.
It is.
But it's my own. I
Yeah.
feel like this is how I can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I can also do lots of singing and dancing around national monuments, etc.
And why not?
In another life.
In another life. Speaking of singing and dancing, let's talk about the Oscars. So, of course, Aamir, it's not your first time at the rodeo. It still is amazing to me that 23 years ago, you got enough people to watch a film, 3 hours, 44 minutes, cricket, song, dance, enough people to get into the top 5. It's a great film.
Yeah.
But the campaigning,
Campaigning
that
was
you
amazing.
did,
Or
the
take
way
a
you
cough
got
drop, I
people
mean.
to watch it, you got in there. I read these stories about how you went to LA and धीरे-धीरे लोग आए. You know, पहले 2 लोग आए, then 6 लोग आए. And then the landscape has changed. There's dramatically more money needed to do it. This is like a political campaign, right? So what is the larger sort of strategy for the both of you?
Actually, it's not a political campaign. I don't know. People think that Oscar में जाके पता नहीं क्या कुछ politics करना पड़ता है, कुछ करना पड़ता है.
Not, I don't mean it
It's
in a
not
bad
that.
way. I mean it in the
Not in a
No,
bad
in
way.
any way.
Scale of it.
The scale of it, exactly.
No, even in any
Yeah.
way. There is a committee. So the membership is around 8 to 10,000 now. It's gone up. At that time, it was 5,000.
Yeah.
I think. And essentially, for the foreign language category, and I think for documentary category, they have separate committees. So the entire membership doesn't get involved in
Right.
the
They only do
nomination
the whole
levels
thing only does best picture.
for these 2 categories. So you have a separate committee of roughly 600, 700, 800 people, members who want to sign in and say that we would like to watch documentaries of foreign language. And we will commit to watching like 15, 20 of them before we can vote. You have to watch at least 80% of the films in your group before any vote of yours is counted. So the members have to dedicatedly give time to watch all these films. The best you can do is get the members to watch your film.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you can't do anything. In fact, in our times, you were not even allowed to go to the screening. Ashutosh and I were not allowed in any screening.
Yeah.
And you can't contact the
so
members.
our publicist would be there and you're not allowed to serve anything. You can only serve tea and coffee and cookies, biscuits. That's what it was allowed. So people watch the film and they go home and they give whatever marks they want to give it. So your main work really is getting the members in the foreign language committee
To watch it.
to watch your film.
Right.
Now, had their rule been that the members have to watch all the films in their group before they can vote, then you won't have to do this also. Because
Right.
then you're sure that the member is going to watch your film.
Correct.
The problem that we had, the moment I got to know that the members can leave out 20% of the films. अगर मुझे 20 देखनी है,
They
मैं
can also say they watched
18
it,
देख सकता हूँ,
but
2 मैं छोड़
didn't.
दूँगा. I don't want the members to leave out my film. That was our task, to make sure that the
For
members
3 hour,
don't
40
miss
minute film.
Oh, amazing.
our film, and for that we had additional screenings for the members.
Back
where,
when
as
you
I
couldn't
said, we
stream it.
go.
Yeah.
You had to see
And in
you had to
those
see the 35
screenings-
millimeter.
As more and more members started watching the film, the word of mouth grew that this film don't miss. And then our official screening had a huge attendance. The one that the Academy organizes. I think about 180 people came to see the film out of a group of potentially 200. I think, if I'm not mistaken. So there's not much you can do actually.
And so the landscape is not much different.
No, it
You're
is.
saying
It is much different. Today, actually, when you look at the number of course, the number
Submissions.
of submissions are
Yeah.
roughly the same, but we don't know who the committee of what was called foreign language international film voting committee is. So unfortunately, the chances that you'll be in the number of films that they leave out is as high as probably it was then. But now what happens is it's online. So everyone's films are online. So you're not relying only on screenings. But what you're relying on is that the buzz reaches the people who are sitting online
is why
to watch
RRR
their
should have been
watch
saved.
their film, the members, to vote for you or to at least
Everybody
watch your
had
film.
already seen
And
it.
in order to do that,
And that's why
is why
folks
you do
like
the
them
screenings
ought
for
to be
members
on
at
the
large,
commission
whether
that selects
they're
films.
IFVC members or not. So
They know.
unfortunately or fortunately, it's of course evened out in the sense all our films are available on the Academy screening room online. But in order to build that profile of your film that they don't miss it out, the surround sound has to be pretty loud. Back then, screenings were the only option, and then you relied on word of mouth to get people to come to your screenings. But now there's a plethora of things online that they can watch. They can leave out yours quite easily. So the campaigning takes takes a much bigger part of your budget. For instance, you would otherwise do you do screenings regardless of the fact that it's available online.
Because you have to create the buzz.
You have
does
to
matter.
create the buzz that don't miss this film.
We'll talk about this at the
Because
end.
Technically, out of the 15, like he said, or 20, you can leave out 3 or 4 or whatever.
So I think in India, people feel lobbying means you have to go and give gifts and so सब नहीं होता
नहीं,
है
वो तो
भाई.
allowed ही नहीं है.
हाँ, मतलब I'm just explaining what lobbying.
Yeah, yeah.
But lobbying is a very vague word.
Correct.
Right.
It can mean anything.
Especially in India.
Correct.
For example, this interview we're doing for Hollywood Reporter, some of the members might see this, they might be interested to watch the film.
Please watch Lapata Ladies.
Come on our channel.
This matters
Guys, when the
to Academy
selection
members
was
to see this.
announced,
Especially
right,
on
there
the
was
Hollywood
also,
Reporter.
Correct.
There was, of course, a lot of support. It's a film people have loved, but there was also criticism because a lot of people thought that Payal's film, All We Imagine Is Life, might have a better shot only because of what you said, that there is distribution.
And
It
buzz.
is coming off a Grand Prix winning Cannes Festival, right? Did that in any way, I don't know, break your heart? Did it give you more of a resolve to work even harder to get to that 15 ka shortlist and eventually the 5? Or did you not care at all?
नहीं, मुझे तो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ा. In the sense that I'm sure it's a good film. I haven't seen it.
Of course, yeah.
And we are not selecting which film to go. It's not in our hands in any case.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah, honestly, I was surprised when we were chosen. I was delighted and really honored. And we had genuinely no hand in it. So we were really happy that we were chosen. And it must have been a difficult choice because there were such good films in the running. Payal's was one. Attam I'd heard really great things about. There were 29 films to choose from. So they probably had their reasons to choose us. And of course, in such a situation, we can only really be grateful to be the ones representing the country. And
I'm sure that's a good film. I've not seen it.
I
but,
have no doubt. And in fact, I feel really proud that, there's going to Payal's anyway going to be at, she'll be in the running for best film or all the other categories.
they're applying in the main categories.
Yeah. And it's a great moment, I think, for women from India.
It is. It really is. Amir, I want to talk about your sort of journey a little bit. Okay, I was just thinking, you started as a leading man, 1988, Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. Over 36 years, your choices, I feel, have sort of shaped the narrative of Indian cinema. Okay, not just the films you've done, but the way you've done it, right? It's influenced a generation of actors. And then you said that after Lal Singh, you said, I'm going to quit. I don't want to make films anymore. And then that Kiran...
No, not after Lal Singh.
Then
It was before Lal Singh.
you decided before.
Before Lal Singh.
Ki this is my swan song.
No, I didn't decide that this is my swan song. I just went through a personal journey. I was going through a personal moment of my own where during COVID, towards the end of COVID, I suddenly felt sitting alone and thinking, because all of us were sitting alone. It made me realize that I've spent the bulk of my adult life, starting from the age of 18 when I became an assistant, right up to now. All of my bandwidth, my focus has been cinema, films. And as a result, it made me realize that perhaps I've not been there enough for my relationships. My kids, my siblings, my family, whether it was Kiran when I was married to her, whether it was Reena when I was married to her. I felt that I have not been there for these people. This was midway during Lal Singh. Lal Singh, half the film was shot, half we couldn't shoot because COVID was on.
Yeah.
So in the middle of COVID, I went through this emotional moment where I felt I've given my whole life to this world of cinema. And I've not been there for my family. So at that time, I felt a lot of guilt, I didn't feel good about what I had done. So it was a kind of an emotional reaction of me saying that, and I've done enough films, 35 years I've done films. I can now focus on my family and my personal relationships. I thanked I was very grateful that I realized this at the age of 56, 57. I'm 59 now. This was about 3 years ago. So, and I didn't realize it at 88 because then there's nothing you can do about it. At least now I can do something. So the thing I did was call my family and say, listen, I'm not going to be doing films anymore. I want to spend time with you guys. And I've done, ho gaya abhi, films kafi ho gaya. And so that was my reaction. It was not out of any disappointment with cinema or some such thing. It was more an emotional feeling that I felt that and I'm quite an extreme person, so when I was doing films, I was doing only films.
I can
And then as Junaid pointed out to me, because he and Ira convinced me not to quit actually. They were the people who convinced me not to quit. Because I had quit. My family knew I had quit. For about 6 months, I was going to Agatsu every day to office. I was not even going to AKP. And then
the
when
family
the time came for me to tell my potential directors who the next guy I was working with, which just happened to be Prasanna, the film I've just done. I had to call him and say, listen, I've quit. So you need another actor, and I'm not even producing films. I'm shutting films out of my life. I'll only watch them now. So he kind of freaked out. But just before I met him, my kids sat me down.
They said, Dad.
And Junaid said, listen, why do you have to go from one extreme to the other?
Right.
You were doing only films and you felt you've not spent enough time with your family. Now you want to
relate
spend
to this.
all the time with the family and do no films. You're swinging from here to here.
What?
Somewhere in the middle also there is a space that you can be in. You can do films and you can be with us. And so they kind of explained that to me.
And I went, oh, you're right.
And so then I came back.
Yeah.
So no one knew I was quit. मतलब उसका कोई practical result नहीं आया.
No one knew what you had
No
quit.
one knew. It was just my own personal journey, which has now come out because
I love watching her reactions to this.
interviews and all
She's
that.
like, I knew this a
Didn't
long time
what did
ago.
you say
I know
to
him better than he knows
said,
She
"I'm
himself.
going
started
to-"
crying. Hai.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
She
a
started
bit...
crying. She said, she said to me, in fact, the whole 7-8 of us were there. Then everyone left. She said, I want to talk to you alone. So you came back down and we were sitting in the balcony. And she started crying. I said, really, what happened? She said, you're leaving us. So I said, no, I'm not leaving you. I'm actually leaving films and we'll actually get more time to spend. She said, no. You're a child of cinema and if you're leaving films, you're leaving us. Trust me.
Can you imagine him sitting around and not doing any movies and doing nothing?
No.
In fact, his daughter told him, please, Papa, you can't spend all your time with us. We look crazy.
Exactly.
We can't handle
Well,
it.
not just for himself,
So
but
we
for us
basically
too.
convinced him, like,
I would
who
hate to
would-
think
like,
he's
what
not
would he do
involved
with it?
anymore.
If he didn't do it.
अरे इतनी किताबें हैं पढ़ने के लिए यार.
Totally.
She's rolling her eyes now.
Yeah, okay.
I would love a retired life. सुबह उठो, yoga वोगा करो,
I bet he'd go
meditation
nuts.
करो, किताब पढ़ो. आप लोग काम पे जाओ ना यार.
But this whole thing of balance is something that, like this moderation, balance that Junaid said, it doesn't. So
it doesn't
after
work
this,
with
he
me.
went straight into 6 films. Like, इसमें हो रहा था
He went
कि
from, I'm
0
quitting,
से 6 करिए, आप
now I
एक
got
करिए,
6 films I'm
एक के बाद
doing.
एक करिए.
I love
It's
it.
like, चलिए एक और करके भी बोला.
नहीं ऐसी बात नहीं है.
Can you
हर
repeat
चीज का
it?
reason है.
Or I'm
We
doing
are cut
6.
from the same
नहीं
cloth.
6 तो मैंने लाइफ में नहीं किया है यार.
This is
Correct.
6 only.
How many times has Rick quit his own personal channel?
The reason really was that when I
I'm not
finally
done
decided
yet.
कि चलो अभी मैं
I'm
फिल्में नहीं
not
छोड़ रहा
done yet.
हूँ. I'm working in films. The next thought that came to me is that this is probably the last 10 years of my active working life because I'm.
Which is not true.
No.
अरे यार
Clint Eastwood.
जिंदगी का
Clint
कोई
Eastwood.
भरोसा.
Just go with flow
देखो
with the
एक तो
go.
let me tell you
97, he just made his
यार
last.
तुम लोग एक extreme example दे रहे हो. He's one of the rare people who in his 90s is still thinking straight.
True.
Who, Clint Eastwood?
So I'm saying that chances are that जिंदगी का कोई भरोसा नहीं. We might die tomorrow, yeah. So I'm saying roughly 10 years of active life. I'm 59 till I'm 70. I'll be able to hopefully be well enough to be productive.
70.
Then I
You
thought
have
that let
decades
me
more
make my
after
last
that.
10 years the most productive.
Nice.
And more than that, as I'm getting older and I'm moving out, hopefully not now, 10 years, but when I move out, in these last 10
he's not
years,
moving out at
I
70.
want to support talent which I believe in. writers, directors, actors, creative people, musicians, singers, people who I feel are really good are the people that I can become a platform for before I, retire at the age of 70, hopefully.
Well,
So that's why I was doing more films. And I also brought in Aparna. Aparna
Big
is
B
now
says, "What's
head of
retired?"
I have to
AKP.
say, which I
Exactly.
have to say, I think is the hiring coup of the decade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the hiring coup.
It is.
It is really.
It
Because
is.
I felt that, when I looked at the industry and I looked at my company, I said, there's only one person who I feel can head this company other than me. And if I'm doing a lot more work, then I need someone else to look after that.
And so the vision for AKP.
In fact, if Aparna had said no to me, then I would have not.
Retired.
I would have not retired. I would have done 1-2 films, small, back to square one.
How
Because
wonderful
this
she
scale I
said
can't
yes.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do
I
scale.
can't do the scale.
Yeah.
And I need someone whose sensibility I trust.
Yeah.
And whose ethics and whose, integrity, her sensitivity of dealing with other people in the industry,
Yeah. Yeah.
her straightforward approach to work. So I felt that that's very similar to mine. And that's why I felt if she's not there, then I wouldn't have gone this route.
So the
be honest.
vision now for AKP with Aparna at the helm as CEO is that you will support new talent, you will put out new voices,
Sure.
and at a scale.
Sure. Well, plus, it depends on the material. Sometimes we might cast a star also.
Yeah.
But the idea really is to make more films so that we can put more talent out there.
White
the kind of
talent.
talent that we believe in.
And then there's Kindling, your company.
Be the
By the
first
way,
in
he-
India to
he
put out
was
good
like,
white
why
talent.
is it not Kiran Rao Films?
Kiran Rao Productions.
Kiran Rao
Films.
Productions.
Kindling
I
is
was
such a lovely
it's
name,
Such
It's a
a
beautiful name.
Phir?
But don't get him started. Let's talk about Kindling positively before he bursts the bubble.
ये discussion से शायद Kindling थोड़ा popular हो जाए.
Why are only
Yeah.
some of his Hindi?
क्या है?
like
आप
a
कोई भी
noun.
नाम रखो. मेरा
I
मैं बहुत
appreciate it, but-
सिंपल आदमी. मेरा बहुत सिंपल लॉजिक है. आपने कंपनी का नाम रखा है. आप चाहते हैं कि लोग आपकी कंपनी को पहचाने. You want people to recognize your company. And if hopefully your company is making good films, then that is what brand building is. कि यार Kindling की फिल्म में मुझे मिस नहीं करनी चाहिए. Correct? अभी किंडलिंग और किरण राव में क्या रिलेशनशिप है ये बहुत कम लोगों को पता है और उस चीज को एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए आपकी जान निकल जाएगी. किरण राव has started a company called Kindling. How do you market that?
By saying it on the Hollywood Reporter. Thank you, Papa. You've given me all the
नहीं
publicity I need.
अभी ये तो हम लोग अंग्रेजी में बात कर रहे हैं. कितने लोग देखने वाले हैं ये? मैं फिर भी कभी-कभी हिंदी में निकल जाता हूँ. But I'm saying that
Millions thanks
my
to
logic
us.
is simple. You're a known name. People know who you are in India. If you call your company by your name, then people will not have a confusion as to whose film are we going to watch. Is it someone who we are excited about? It's
But-
like Amir Khan Productions,
For instance, who knows what Rohit Shetty's company is called? It might be called Rohit Shetty Films. I have no
It
idea,
is.
but people go to see Rohit Shetty films.
Yeah.
Same way.
His
Who
company
does-
is called
nobody
on that.
cares.
I think Rohit Shetty films.
Rohit Shetty films.
Nobody cares.
They've had
Like,
this
I didn't
conversation
know that.
before. Yeah.
They,
You know,
like, genuinely.
Monkey Paw.
But tell me this.
Anyway.
You know who that is?
Tell me, and you said to me, which I love, that
Dev?
she wanted kind
No.
in the name.
He said,
You know,
You're right.
which is
Well,
why
it's
Kindling.
American.
Uh,
Well,
how do you work together, right? And
Jordan
then
Peele.
still have two
Oh.
separate companies that are distinct in their sensibility, taste. How do they forge individual paths as well as you keep coming together? How does that
वो तो अभी पता लगेगा अभी फॉर्म किया
Well,
Kindling.
Kindling, we started a little while before we started work on Lapata
Lapata.
Ladies. The idea was that I wanted something fairly sort of almost handmade, like something that
Boutique.
was boutique in a way that we took on projects that excited us, that we were interested to develop, might take a while to do. And we were interested to sort of let ideas from different, kinds of filmmaking have a place to grow here. Kindle these ideas, right? So, so we didn't have a plan beyond just working on Kindling, on Lapata Ladies to begin with. But going forward, the idea is really once we have projects that are ready to be attached to a producer or financier, we will look around. And Aamir, of course, Amir Khan Productions is one of our favorite people to work with, and we will come to Amir Khan Productions or other producers to sort of see where the synergies lie, because I want to do a whole bunch of different kinds of work with different directors as well going forward. So we'll see. The idea is that this chaya of Amir Khan Productions, this comfort that we have, is what I genuinely appreciate and don't want to lose. And Aamir that way is a great sounding board for me. So all the projects that we have, I anyway bring around and sound him off. And he likes some of the ideas. We're happy to, work with Aamir, Aparna,
But there's no world in which, because he casts a very big shadow, right? Is there a world in which it can become overpowering?
I do feel also it's important for Kindling to branch out and work with other producers and other studios, because I feel it's important for us to test our wings. And honestly, I feel different kinds of energies yield, fresh results. So I do want to try and work with other studios as well.
Plus, when you work with outside studios, you'll come to know our real value.
फिर
आपको समझ में आएगा।
You are basically घर की मुर्गी यार.
Oh yeah, nothing.
घर की मुर्गी मैं हूँ भाई.
Anything. So this then you can have a producer who doesn't be like, I am the घर की मुर्गी.
But you had told me, the last time I interviewed the two of you was just before Do Bigha. And you had said to me that he's a dream producer.
He is. In that sense, actually, we have such a great comfort level working with Aamir and Amir Khan Productions, because there's a great degree of trust. And there's like we said, similar sensibility. There's the freedom to be able to argue and fight for what we think is the right decision when it comes to very tricky things, whether it's casting or a location or an edit. So while Aamir will weigh in very strongly and have veto power on everything, he's still open to being persuaded, which we obviously value his judgment, like artistic judgment on things. So it's a nice balance, So Lapata was great.
I don't
actually.
veto power मैंने आज तक use नहीं किया.
Use नहीं किया. But though he has it, which is the...
It's only, the reason I'd like to have the last say on anything creative in any of the films that we get involved is because I don't want something dramatically crazy to be happening. If that happens, I need to stop it. But otherwise, I would rather go with the instinct of the people who are making the film. She's the one who's helming
Closest,
I have to also understand that sometimes if I don't agree with her, many times I go with what she's saying because I feel that she's a director, let her decide. I give her my inputs and then I let her decide. Very rarely do I say, yaar, ye mat karo. I don't think aisa hua hai.
No.
Very rarely you say,
no, so we do end
well.
up, sort of convincing each other because it's a nice space for us to debate, argue. We test our films a lot at Amir Khan Productions, which helps in a great deal. Because, any kind of hypothesis you have, you test it out, you bring a group of people, see whether the cut is working, So that comfort we have at AKP, but I still do want to, I don't know, branch out, try new collaborations. Also, the world has changed so much with OTT and the kinds of distribution that are possible, working overseas with international studios, that I want to try everything. And I feel Kindling is in a position where we have lots of very interesting ideas that could be great starting points for international collaborations as well.
That makes me happy.
Aamir, one of the things I really admire about you is your ability to publicly say when you went wrong. I think that's very rare. I mean, for you to apologize for Khambe Jaisi Khadi Hai, which you did in the 90s when truthfully none of us knew any better. Right?
All of us thought it was great.
All of us were singing and dancing to that song. हमको क्या पता क्या गाना है
सब स्कूल के बच्चे कर रहे हो we have no idea what we're singing.
Exactly. Or I mean, more recently, I mean, for you to say that you pitched your performance in Lal Singh incorrectly, right? There's not many actors, leave alone superstars, who will go out there and say, okay, I messed up. Where do you get the courage to do that?
Actually, you don't need courage for that.
It's just integrity with...
Obviously.
He cares about artistry.
What is so brave in that?
Everything.
Arey, I'm just stating the obvious here. Or rather, what has occurred to me.
Yeah.
When a film goes wrong, you try and understand what went wrong. And when I sat down and thought about it, I felt that, see, Forrest Gump, as a as a piece of writing, it doesn't necessarily fall into the rules. It doesn't really follow the rules of mainstream.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a clear premise. Its premise is a question which it doesn't answer for you. The story moves episodically. It's not streamlined in that sense. And your main plot gets over and the film continues for 15-20 minutes after that. The main plot being the fact that he wants to marry Jenny from the age of 8 or something. So finally, when Jenny and him get married,
It's done.
the main goal for the film setting is actually over.
Yeah.
But the film continues 15-20 minutes after that. These three things don't make it a mainstream kind of film. What worked, I feel, in the original is that Tom Hanks's performance was so beautiful. And you fell in love with that character so beautifully that then all of these things fell apart. It didn't matter. You were just going on that journey with him. And I felt that, so in this kind of a script, to make it mainstream, if you're not wanting to make it mainstream, then you're okay. But if you're wanting to make it mainstream, then the performance really has to be magical. It covers up for the fact that there is no real strong premise. It covers up for the fact that it's episodic.
The plot is not that conventional plot.
All that, the performance, just sweeps off the table. Which I was not able to do, I feel.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't
that's
Tom
why
Hanks'
I felt
level
that I have let the
performance
film
for
down.
Forrest, but I think
Because
he's
otherwise I thought
underestimating
Advait made a decent
his performance.
film.
But he heard that a lot.
I think
from
also in the
audiences,
writing,
so.
I
Lal
liked
Singh
him.
was far more in some way connecting, a history in a very more emotional way to this character's life. Whereas in Forrest Gump, it was a much more ephemeral, breezy kind of backdrop,
Sort
apart
of
from
touch
the
and go
war.
kind of.
Yeah, it was using fun moments from history and reliving them. But here it was a little. It kind of was a little deeper and more emotional.
One
So,
aspect of it, the
one
fact that he was a Sardar and the Sikh riots happened in Delhi. So that particular incident in history deeply connects with this character. You're saying that there's no such thing in Forrest Gump, which I agree with that.
But coming back to my question,
Vietnam.
how do you?
Yeah,
find
but
it?
not in the same way.
Not in the same way.
Yeah,
Not in the same way.
Americans
It doesn't
don't have
take
a deep
courage.
connection to
It's not
Vietnam.
something I'm
It's
scared
just
Most of us
who
think
you
it was a
are.
mistake.
That's why I don't think it's a courageous act.
I get
If
what
you
he's
ask me a
saying.
question, I should
do too.
answer honestly. If you ask me why do you think the film didn't work, I'll say I think I messed up. That's the truth.
But honestly,
I don't think it
That's
takes
true. Not a lot
courage.
of actors would
been
say
a
that.
quality
Big
with him
actors
is that
wouldn't say
whenever there has been, say, anything that he felt
But-
like we needed to deep dive and understand.
don't think I agree.
He's
The timing was
very
also
open to
Yeah.
boycott
sort of looking
remakes.
at
Yeah.
what
There was a
went
lot of
wrong in a
aspects.
very
People were
honest
boycotting
way.
without even
and
seeing
being quite,
There wasn't one specific thing.
transparent about it even publicly, which I think is unusual. Most
It's
people
unusual.
don't,
I
and
don't
you
think it
try.
needs
Most
courage.
people try to would offset the
It's
blame
unusual
from
for
themselves.
stars, for
Like,
sure.
when we do
Technically-
test screenings, people tell me you're very courageous to लोगों को film दिखा रहे हैं. You're showing the film and a lot of people don't like the first cut and you go through various stages.
Amir
So you need a lot of
asks
courage.
for- Amir asks
So
for
people
the
tell me that you're very
feedbacks.
courageous to have test screenings. I look at it, I feel the other way. I feel it's very courageous to release a film without test screenings. आपको बहुत हिम्मत चाहिए यार. You have to be really confident कि मेरी जो film है वो वैसी है, मैंने टेस्ट भी नहीं किया और सब
आने
लोगों
वाले
को पसंद
देखो,
आएगी.
हाँ।
मेरा वो confidence नहीं है, तो मुझे डर लगता है. I'm scared of releasing it directly. I would never do that to a film.
Yeah, I understand him.
I feel it's much more scary to do that.
Yeah.
This is, in fact, because I'm scared, I'm doing test screenings.
He wants to make sure it's working.
It helps me correct the film.
Right.
Yeah. But you also said, Amir, which I loved, that after you guys split, you actually asked her for notes on how to be a better husband, and she gave you some 10, 12 points, which
11
include
points.
11 points, which
I love
include
that.
you talk too much.
She told me when there's a gathering and people are home for dinner or anywhere we go out, you take over the conversation and suddenly it's, you know, you're telling all these stories and all
These
that.
are not things now. Publicly, you're going to take out that whole
वो
list.
सवाल पूछिए मैं आंसर दे रहा हूँ. So I said
another thing on the
that she
list.
said, you know, you don't allow other people
Keep
to
things
talk.
private.
I didn't agree with
Case
her.
in point.
I didn't agree with her, but I wrote it down. I said,
You wrote these points
yeah,
down?
yeah, it's
You
there.
wrote them or I wrote them for you?
No, I wrote
Oh,
them
you wrote them.
on my notes in my phone.
Good, I want to see what else
Yeah.
I wrote.
Yeah. No, I thought it'll be
think this is
useful.
an exercise all
What these
husband.
points I must say.
I've been working every day on them, bhai. Every day I'm working on them.
Hey.
I think this is an exercise all husbands should
No?
do.
हाँ.
Ex, present, current,
Be
forthcoming,
teachable.
all.
My husbands, even wives. Yeah.
Teachable.
उसने मुझे नहीं पूछा, how can I be a better wife? आप कभी पूछो तो मैं बताता हूँ list.
Okay.
Kiran, is it
Luckily
true?
now ex-wife, so don't need to. No.
Yeah, it's like, that's a you problem, not a me problem. Is it true you're directing a horror film next?
Please.
No.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm trying very hard to.
I'm so
write
excited.
something
You can-
supernatural.
I've heard of-
it's kind of a
I've
supernatural.
heard a lot of people in the industry
I wouldn't say,
are trying
yeah,
to
it's
do
a
more
thriller,
horror.
but a little more like a scary fairy tale.
Love it.
That sounds
Yeah.
terrific.
Like
yeah.
Perry,
I can't wait
go
to see
for it.
Kiran
Harry.
Rao supernatural movies.
Yeah. I don't want to say
I've heard on
too
good
many
authority
things.
from a lot of
Finish
well-known
writing it.
people.
We have to write it
But
first.
I don't. You're playing with a number of projects, so whether this is going to be your next or
We don't
something
know.
else, we don't know. I mean,
That's
you also
true.
don't know.
So,
I
but
have
you're
a whole
writing
bunch.
more than one at
Yes.
a time? Wow.
Well,
अरे she's
actually,
very
I've
talented.
been
यार उसके
written-
बहुत 7-8 ideas हैं उसके पास.
Yeah,
wish I could
I've been
write.
Anu writing for the last 10, 12 years. People ask where I've been, but that's all I've been doing, honestly, is developing projects to some degree. And now we've kind of found great writers to attach to some of them. So I have about 3 or 4 that we are developing, and we don't know which one we'll be able to get on the floor first up. But they're all quite varied in genre, and I really like the fact that you know. So then when you go from one to the other, different parts of your head are being used, you know. So yeah, lots
How
of fun
exciting.
things down the road for kindling.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
You know, Amir, I don't know if you've seen Pathaan, but at the end,
हाँ.
there's this
Yeah.
Lovely.
Shah Rukh and Salman are sitting and saying कि who will take over next or something.
हमारी जगह कौन लेगा?
हमारी जगह कौन लेगा?
Okay,
अच्छा, हाँ.
and for about a few minutes, the banter goes on.
And then they
People
realize कोई
go,
नहीं ले सकता.
and
तो
then
हमको
at
ही
the
रहना
end,
पड़ेगा.
you know,
Yeah, I found the scene really funny.
it's very fun.
Yeah, I've not seen the
It's a
film,
very funny scene.
but I've seen that scene because you know you get clips nowadays on Instagram and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I ended up seeing that scene. It's quite a funny scene.
It's a scene where finally Pathaan says that
What does he
हमें
say?
ही करना पड़ेगा भाई देश का सवाल है बच्चों पे नहीं छोड़ सकते.
Oh God.
Remember that? I
Shah
remember.
Rukh and Salman.
I just
I
thought
think
it
all
was
the,
so
all the young
funny.
actors must have got really upset. And you can't even get too upset with Shah Rukh and Salman. क्या कह सकते हैं?
They must have enjoyed it only.
But tell me this, Amir, the three of you have really defined Hindi cinema for 3 decades, right?
हाँ.
Do you think at all about what happens in the next 10 years? Do you think at all about how the narrative changes and how the essence of stardom changes?
नहीं, इतना सब नहीं सोचता हूँ मैं. I don't think of all these things really. What is your question again?
I mean,
Has
You know, first of all, I have to say that it's not just Salman, Shah Rukh and me who've lasted 35 years. There's Ajay Devgan, who's
Akshay.
Akshay.
and Mr. B, who's
Mr.
lasted
Bachchan.
it
I
in
mean,
into
there have been a lot of
eternity.
actors who've you know been along with us.
Yeah.
So it's
Saif.
inaccurate to say that only the 3 of us have gone 35 years. It's a number of us have done that.
But
But you haven't done.
three
They
have
haven't
sort
done
of
box
been the
office like
trinity,
you. Yeah.
right?
You're
You've
the
been
cons.
North
You're
Stars.
the cons.
It's all been about the three cons.
Right.
As it turned out, I think in retrospect we can say most of our films are successful or the big ones. Or,
Absolutely.
yeah, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Has the nature of stardom changed? Was her question.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I mean, has in this new world where our,
I don't know how
it's
to
quite
answer
an
this question. I
interesting
mean,
thing
when
because
anyone figures out what stardom is or how it is achieved, then you tell me because I don't know. I have no idea.
'cause
Why
when,
have I become a star and not, somebody else? I have no idea. And if you tell me to do it again, I won't know how to do it again. It's I don't know how to break it down. Well, with internet coming in and with social media becoming extremely, part of our lives, I think that will affect stardom. Because
Already
earlier
has, for sure.
stars were people who you couldn't reach.
Right.
You know, but now they're kind of available quite easily.
But on the reverse, it's made some
the
people
bunch of
more
us who
of a
became
star.
stars before
Correct.
social media and internet
Tells
coming
Zendaya
in,
that social media has made her
will have
less of a
slight
star.
advantage,
No.
I feel. I mean, all of us will have a slight advantage. Because for a new person to come in as a star, na,
I don't think he ever
या तो
pursued
वो दूर रहे,
stardom.
मतलब
Yeah.
public से. I mean, you know that quality. I'm just answering the way best I can. I have no real answer.
The metric actually has just changed, I feel, also slightly.
What do you mean?
In the sense that, you know, when we cast Nitanshi, I had never heard of her, I had not seen her. She had done some work in television, but she had 2 million followers. Now has some 10 or 12. And I feel like now, because of this explosion of the kinds of entertainment that we have, you know, your definition is of a star is what now? You know,
Yeah.
how do you define it by followers? Because certainly there are people genuinely whom we in our everyday, say, film lives have not heard of, who have hundreds of, or whatever, several million followers, etc. So what are we actually saying?
Right.
What are we
So you have to define what you mean by stardom.
star.
stardom?
Right.
For
I
me,
feel like
stardom
it
means-
it's something quite, in some way, indefinable about a person. There's an aura about a person. that-
Actually, for me, the yardstick I've normally used for stardom is real stardom. Is how many seats do you fill?
Correct. Bums on seats. Yeah.
If you're able to fill cinemas, then you're a star.
okay.
Otherwise, I may love you, but I may not come and see your film. वो भी star है, मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ वो star नहीं है. People who cannot perhaps fill seats are also stars. But in my understanding, like as a producer, if I'm styling a star, then I expect him to fill seats. Otherwise, why am I taking it?
Yeah.
As a star. As an actor, I might need a person who's a certain personality. But if I'm looking for a star for a film,
That's why
a
Nawaz,
big budget film, I need
actor,
a star. I need someone who can fill
not a star.
seats. I don't.
Pankaj.
It doesn't matter to me how popular
mean-
the person is otherwise.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're bad. I
to
mean,
be able to
it's
fill
in the
seats.
slightest. But
For a
stars are
producer,
different.
that's the definition.
It's a different
I feel.
thing.
Yeah. And you're saying, Kiran, that is actually
Dwayne Johnson's a star.
Or used to be.
changing
No, he's still a star. He's still a
because
star.
of
I don't
social.
care
They're-
anymore.
But the guys who
Thank
are
God.
following on social are not necessarily filling seats.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily filling seats.
Yeah.
Also, I have to say that, you know, when you think of how the cinema business has changed as well and who's going to fill seats aaj ke date mein, in large parts of India, I'm saying the South has got its own sort of, I don't know, whole thing going on. But, you know, often we don't think of women as stars because so-called, like, you know, female-oriented films don't fill seats. And because most of the people
interesting,
buying
'cause I
tickets
do.
are men and women don't have the purchasing power to go and buy tickets. But I think as the business changes, like you see how well Crew did, or I think content is why people go to, you know, because they actually want to see something interesting is why they're filling seats. It's, I don't know how much, you know, a star.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Stree 2
Yeah.
and how many seats were filled. Are you talking about just the opening weekend?
Opening weekend, you have to talk about because, like, for example, a film like Three Idiots. As a star, I can't take credit for the overall success of the film. That is the director, the producer, the writer, the entire crew has made a film that has connected with people. I can take credit only for the first 3 days of bringing people in, you know.
Yeah.
So it's the opening that a star can be defined by the opening he is able to pull.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true.
That still holds.
That still holds.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, the film works. See, there are so many films which don't open well, but they do great business. The film has worked.
Yeah.
And the actor in it may or may not have filled the seats, but despite that, the film has worked.
Yeah.
So then it's the film, it's not necessarily the actor.
Yeah. And before we wrap, Aamir, what can you tell us about Sitare Zameen Par?
Well,
Is it in production?
it's a beautiful story.
It better be.
Actually, the easiest way I can describe it is that it's Tare Zameen Par is a very emotional film that makes you cry.
A lot.
Sitare Zameen Par makes you laugh. It's a humorous film. The theme is similar of people with different abilities different intelligences, all with different challenges. So the theme is similar, but the
Dyslexia is
feel
not
of the
autism.
film, the emotional feel of the film is humor.
True.
As
On the
opposed
spectrum,
to
technically, but-
Hot take by Korbin.
emotions.
Just somebody with
And
dyslexia.
in many ways, I feel it's way ahead of Tare Zameen Par, because in Tare Zameen Par, the person who was with the challenge in the film, that is Ishan, was helped by a character which is my character.
Yeah.
In Sitare Zameen Par, it is the 10 people with challenges, they help me, the supposedly normal person.
Right.
So it's a real flip. Instead of me helping a person who's challenged, the challenged people help me. So it's goes much further, I feel, than Tare Zameen Par. It's a very beautiful story. I hope it turns out well, and I hope people like it.
Well, cannot wait to see it. And we're all rooting for you.
Yay! Thank you.
Go forth and conquer.
We'll do our best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hi, this is Amir Khan.
Hi, this is Kiran Rao.
Please do subscribe to the Hollywood Reporter India.
We need to do that anytime. It just feels so terrible.
I know.
You know, the vibe it gave me is when we interviewed Kalki and we asked her, what do you look for in a director? And she said, not a husband.
Right.
Which I love.
That was fun.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
I'd imagine if you ask her, what do you look for in a producer?
Yeah.
Not a husband.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really good stuff said in there.
Well, it's another. What a shock! Another great interview by.
Anupam Chopra.
Yeah,
I think is her name.
it is Anupam Chopra.
Anupam Chopra.
She's wonderful. Her interviews are always wonderful. Part of that is her expertise and her ability. She's wonderful, and it's also the years of reputation and the trust that she's engendered. It's one I love her.
No,
being
she's a sellout
with the Hollywood Reporter.
I'm kidding.
And it does matter. It is different. I think when people like Aamir said, when Indians hear about you campaigning,
Yeah.
they have a particular idea in mind of what that means based on how that works in Indian cinema, and it is very different here. Like he said, if you have a screening, you have to ensure you only have coffee and like minimal snackage. That way, nobody can be perceived as, hey, we did a huge buffet with, Kobe beef served and oysters on the half shell, and these guys had Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I'd go to the Chick-fil-A one.
No, well, I don't know.
No, I would.
But the perception of that is that way. But what does matter for it matters for SAG Awards and it matters for Oscars is the perception by the Oscar committee of, do you want this? It's not a game breaker by any means. If it were, Daniel Day-Lewis would never win. Because Daniel Day-Lewis never campaigns. Ever. So, but it is partly there, especially if you're a producer. If you're a producer whose film gets nominated and you don't come to Los Angeles, you're going to be letting the Academy know you don't really care. So there is part, which is why I'm sure he's going to, if he's not here already, I'm sure he's going to be here, as will she, talking to folks and having the screenings. But
I don't know if he'll be here. I know she will be.
I particularly love,
I don't know if she will be.
well, he's the producer.
So?
He'll be here
Nah.
with Oscar background.
Nah, he's been here before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows that.
I love that. I love their relationship. I love that he asked her, what are the, things I could change to be a better husband? That's great.
Yeah, I asked my wife that, and she just left it blank because I'm perfect. At least that's what I thought she did. I didn't read it.
I was just going to say, you probably didn't read it. Or if you did, you forgot because you got to number 2 and thought of something different, like a ring under your chair.
I still need to find that.
I love hearing her say she's developing something. I hope it falls more into the realms of, say,
She said it's more of a thriller, kind of. That's
yeah, just we've got enough horror comedies. Let's stick to something a little bit more on the serious side of the horror.
I've talked to quite a few people in a couple different industries recently, and if let's say I've talked to 10, like 7 have said they're trying to develop a horror
love
from all industries.
it. Love it.
And I'm like, So clearly it's something that the industry sees as an opportunity. And I think they now see that people kind of want it. I don't know if they're going to go, since, you know, Street 2 was obviously very, 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 very successful.
Right.
They're going to continue to do. And I don't doubt that comedy horrors and Hindi cinema are going to go away.
I'd be interested to see what, if someone's tracking anything in regard to how many people in India are watching on OTT horror internationally, and what they're, for example, I know in our circles, our folks that Indrani and I talk to who are in India, they watch the things that we watch.
Yeah.
They're watching Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
They're looking forward to Nosferatu. They saw Smile. They're into it. They've seen Heretic. I would love to know the tracking in that regard as to the popularity that is already in the audience on the streaming platforms that can justify
it's just
the making of it for producers who are just interested in, hey, put something out there that's going to bring money back.
It's just people not. Why is that muted?
I don't know.
Not having the courage, I feel like, since it's not really been done in Indian cinema as a whole. Malayali kind of doesn't care because they're like, we're just going to do whatever, and our audience has always supported us.
Tip the cap to Marathi.
Yeah, Marathi, Tamil. We haven't seen as much pure horror yet. And, you know, we have seen some good horror from Tamil, but like in terms of more recent stuff as well, because Maya was good, and we've seen some good stuff. Malayali, just they know their audiences only want good content-driven films.
Content-driven original films.
So like they don't have that issue of
Right.
that Hindi does
Right.
of like audiences aren't supporting small cinema; they're only supporting these big juggernauts. Which is a
Well,
very, very unique.
And then there's the topic that's come up in other situations that they could have talked about, but it doesn't bother me that they didn't, which would be in the Hindi industry, the twofold problem of studios buying seats and stars asking for too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's not just Hindi, but it is definitely heightened in Hindi cinema.
Very
for
heightened
sure.
there, yeah. Very heightened there.
That,
But I love their relationship. I love I love his extremism.
oh, you love that, Rick?
I can so
Yeah, you
relate
love
to
that.
that man. And how the whole family went to him and said, hey, you know, there's a middle place that you can balance all of that. And he's very, I don't think he gives himself enough credit for the fact that the primary driver that he has for all of the things he does, whether he's producing or he's acting, anything he's doing in the creative sense, is that he genuinely cares about storytelling. And he wants to do excellent pieces of work that don't just garner an audience to watch it so it makes money, but that it's something that audiences want to see and impacts their life in some way.
Yeah.
Which is why he's always been at the top of my list of favorite creatives in Indian cinema. Love him.
Just because he's extreme like you.
Yep.
Far right Rick. That's what I call him. Far right Rick.
That's it. Call me Far Right Rick.
Yeah.
The R in my name stands for right. He may always think he's right, but I know I'm right. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
No, I'm always right. You know, it's funny because I've always known that about you. Always. 100%.
My extremism?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's evident.
Anybody that knows me.
Because you
extreme.
often don't it's occasionally happened. You often, in terms of just liking films, you often aren't very in the middle ever.
Very rarely.
It's either the film is amazing or I hated it.
It's very rare. I don't give out a lot of silver medals.
I know.
I don't. It's gold, platinum, bronze, and silver don't happen a lot.
I know. I'm very aware.
Yeah.
You actually probably give more no medals than bronze medals.
Probably. I have to be in a good mood to give out a bronze medal. And forget it if I feel passionately about something. You're not going to get me off that hill. And I'm better now than I was 20 years ago. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about bullheadedness in my 30s? Just talk to my ex-wife.
Yeah, I do love it when people have been married before and then can still get along. even though obviously relationship-wise, it just didn't work out.
Sometimes people are even better friends.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was always weird I think it's more common now. Hopefully, I don't know a ton. But I'd imagine people are more civil now after divorce, depending on the divorce, of course. Obviously, if there's abuse or something like that. But if it's like an amicable divorce because of irreconcilable differences or whatever the reasons are, I feel like it's more common now to be more civil.
Yeah, I do too. I think a primary driver for that is the fact that divorce isn't as taboo as it was 50 years ago.
Because back in the day,
it was taboo.
When I was growing up in the 90s, there was a lot of divorce still. I mean, there's always been a lot of divorce.
The 80s.
But you would normally have, like, they just hate each other. They're always arguing.
Right. Bitter.
My parents divorced when they never remember them together ever. But I've never seen them argue in front of me ever. I've never seen them talk bad. I've seen it a little more as I've gotten to be an adult of like those little things. I've never actually asked, maybe my brothers have, what happened. I don't care. I'm not the kind of person that actually gives two shits why. Maybe I should. Because my wife was like, did you ever? And I'm like, no, I've literally never asked that in my life.
Yeah.
But they've always been like, my sets of parents when I was younger had gone on vacations together. Like they've always been able to sit around and have a good time, and I've always appreciated that because you don't want your kids to have to feel why your relationship didn't go wrong.
Right.
I've always felt like you got divorced. That was your solution. It's over. Why you're just two people now. Be civil, especially if you have children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do whatever you can to be peaceable amongst the kids. I mean,
it didn't work out. That's unfortunate. It's over. Like, unfortunately, that's not always the case.
I appreciate them very much, and as always, appreciate her. Great interview.
Yeah.
Great interview.
Yeah. If you're coming to LA, shoot this guy in the face. Just shoot me. End it all. I don't know why I went there. How else can I make this a really awkward ending?
Well, you can go dark fast.
That's my favorite place to be.
It is. We're kind of the yin and yang of reaction channels in that regard.
Yeah, somebody was saying, I saw a TikTok, and it was talking, about the election, and it was this person being like, don't be a pessimist. Don't give in to your pessimist nature. That's where they want you. They want you to feel like, I'm like, I've always been there.
Yeah.
This just reinforces my hatred for humanity.
I was just going to say, the thing you don't tell a pessimist is to not be a pessimist.
I've literally always been there, and I still hate humans more than I ever did before. So this just reinforces the fact that I think you're all idiots.
And I'm still sitting here going, guys, it's going to be okay.
No, it's not. We're all dead. Anyways, Amir Khan, if you'd like to come in
yes,
on the channel. And
hey.
Even more so. Kiran Rao.
Yes.
Kiran Rao, which is a great name. Let us know anything else we need to know down below.
Juice!